Hi, pretty baby. You're huge. Look how close. Look how close this is. Okay, bye. Okay, don't come closer. Bye. Welcome to Scotland. In this road trip series, we're taking you through some of the most beautiful parts of Scotland, from romantic castles and wild landscapes to whiskey tastings and fairy pools. This is our trip from the Highlands to the Isle of Skye. Our first stop of the day is one of the most beautiful castles I've ever seen. It's Eilean Donan Castle, and it's such an easy detour if you're traveling from Inverness to the Isle of Skye. Eilean Donan is one of the most recognizable castles in the world because of its location on an island. It's where three giant lochs meet, and it's precisely that location that made it into an effective defensive fortification against Viking raids when it was built in the early 13th century. Eilean Donan was largely destroyed during the Jacobite uprisings, but was restored by the McRae family between 1911 and 1932. And thanks to those restoration efforts, the world gets to enjoy a historical and architectural treasure. And here's a quick little preview of the views you can expect to see from high up on the castle walls. There's a really interesting story about Eilean Donan during the Jacobite uprisings. In 1719, 46 Spanish soldiers were garrisoned here. They were allied with the Jacobites. They had a magazine of gunpowder and were waiting for weapons and cannons to arrive from Spain. But unfortunately for them, the English found out. The English bombarded the castle, and even though they were heavily outnumbered, the Spanish held out for 3 days because the castle walls were so thick. Finally, the captain of the government army sent his men ashore and overwhelmed the Spanish defenders. After the surrender, the government troops found 343 barrels of gunpowder and blew it all up. The castle lay in ruins for almost 200 years until it was restored. It's easy to see why so many visitors around the world are drawn to this magical place. In fact, you can even rent out the whole castle for your wedding, and prices start as low as £1,400, or about $1,800 US. Talk about a romantic location. As much as we would have loved to spend more time at the castle, there was one special place on our itinerary that we wanted to get to before last call, the oldest working distillery on the Isle of Skye, Talisker Distillery. And getting there was about an hour drive from Eilean Donan Castle, a drive that was itself worth a trip. I mean, you get to drive through emerald green valleys with these beautiful hills hugging the side of the road. It looks like a painting. After the scenic drive, we finally arrive at Talisker Distillery on the shores of Loch Harcourt. Talisker Distillery was founded in 1830 and produces some of the best single malt scotch in the world, and we knew we had to try it for ourselves. I walked in expecting to see just a bar or a tasting room, but a visit to Talisker is so much more than that. It's an immersive experience. And honestly, I wish we had more time here because they offer distillery tours, cask drawings and tastings, and a multi-sensory made-by-the-sea experience. It kind of had the same fun vibes as a visit to a cool aquarium or the Exploratorium in San Francisco. But we got there right before closing time, so we knew we had to prioritize, and we headed straight for the main tasting bar. Talisker boasts that its whiskey is adventure in a bottle. You get that peaty smoke taste with a long, fiery finish. I guess it did taste like adventure in a bottle. Slàinte. And this is no surprise if you've seen our other travel videos, but I've never been able to resist a good gift shop, so I double-tasked and explored with whiskey in hand. And with souvenirs in tote, literally because I got a tote bag, we hopped back in the car and headed to the world-famous fairy pools. We're doing a short hike to what's known as the fairy pools,
and we'll show you what that looks like along the way. We're here standing in the parking lot. It's £6 to park, but definitely worth it because check out this view.
Quick tip here as you look at the mountains. The ferry pools are open 24 hours, but the parking lot restrooms are not. I think they close at 5 p.m., and the closest public restroom is probably 40 minutes away, so plan accordingly. And now, our hike to the ferry pools. The hike is fairly easy, and most of it is along a gravel path. To your right, you'll find a series of waterfalls and swimming holes. Yep, I said swimming holes, so people actually swim here. Of course, it's at your own risk, there aren't any lifeguards around, and it looks like the rocks are kind of slippery, so be careful out there if you do decide to swim. A quick side note, in researching this hike, I found that most people said it took about 40 minutes to hike to the ferry pools and back. We ended up going further, and our hike was closer to 2 hours round trip. As you keep going, the path does get a lot rougher, and you might have to cross some small streams. But the benefit of going further than most people is that you get a chance to enjoy the landscape on your own. I mean, just look at this beautiful view. Not another person in sight. And the rugged landscape is virtually untouched. We're standing here in 2023, but looking around, it could easily be 1743. Grant and I looked around and thought, you know what? This is beauty worth toasting. And with that toast, we had our moment of gratitude for getting to be in such a beautiful place. And we headed back to our car. And just a heads up, the last bit of the hike toward the parking lot is uphill. From the ferry pools, we headed east to the village of Elgol, on the southern coast of the Isle of Skye. It's a picturesque drive down single-lane country roads. We dropped our bags off at our Airbnb and rushed over to Elgol Bistro for dinner. Normally you'd need a reservation here, but they kindly accommodated us at the last minute because we said we literally eat anything that the kitchen could prepare. We had a hearty stew, green beans, and bread. So good.
So you got the apple rhubarb.
Apple rhubarb crumble with vanilla ice cream.
And I have the brownie with raspberry and ice cream. So how about you eat half of that, I'll eat half of this, and then we'll swap.
Deal.
Okay.
All right.
Dig in.
After dinner, we made the short drive down to the docks so we could watch the sunset over the bay. It was the perfect way to end our adventure on the Isle of Skye. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button, and we'll see you next time.